Hi there guys, it's Alec, and here to show you something we've identified from a group or a consolidation level. We've been working with data for many years, and it's something that we've just kind of recently have seen, and wanted to share with you guys a different method of eliminating those intercompany transactions. So we call it the rip-out method. Okay, so usually we use a journal method, and just wanted to share how it's done, and kind of like just want you guys to think about it. So firstly, to just demonstrate the example environment that we've got here, is we've got a group, and in the group we've got two companies owned by the group. Okay, a company A and a company B. So when we think about consolidations, we ultimately bring together both the companies in this group. We bring all their transactions together, but from a group reporting perspective, we want to eliminate intercompany transactions. All right, so there are a few transactions that happen in the company. First, we get intergroup transactions. So these are the transactions that take place between the companies that are owned by the group, like that. So for instance, company A sells to company B, and company B purchases from company A. Right. Then we get a second type of transaction, which is called an external transaction. These external transactions are transactions that were made by each company, but were made to parties that are not in the group, or entities that are not owned by the group. So they are outside of the group. So that would happen in both these company instances. Now, when we think about consolidations, what we try and do is we actually only want to report on the transaction that took place out of the group, not in the group. So that we write consolidation journals for. And these journals are basically going to do the following. It will eliminate the transactions that took place between the companies in the group, and only the transactions that were external to the group are then reported on. Right, so how are we going to actually demonstrate this is we're going to just do a small data set for each of these, a company A data set and a company B data set. Now, here are the transactions that took place in company A and company B's transactions. Okay, so if we, for instance, look at it, this is the day, on day 1 of company A. Company A made an invoice out, so it sold to company B, which is the group company, an amount of 1,000 Rand, and it got into its bank 1,150 Rand, which obviously was inclusive of VAT. All right. In company B's book, they purchased on day 1 from company A 1,000 Rand to cost of sales, and they paid a 1,150 Rand, and they claimed 150 Rand of VAT. All right. On day 2, we had a company A purchasing from supplier 1, which is an external supplier, an amount of 2,000 Rand, and they paid 2,300 Rand, which obviously included 15% VAT. On day 2, company B again made a sale, an invoice out to client 1, which is an external entity, 2,500 Rand. Into their bank they got 2,875 Rand, and they also had to raise an output VAT of 375 Rand. Okay, on day 3 there was again an intercompany transaction, which was an invoice to company B, and company B again purchased from company A, the exact opposite of what was processed on the company A side. And on day 4 there was again external transactions that took place, a purchase in company A from supplier 2, and a sale, an invoice to client 2 in company B. Alright, so what we're trying to basically just identify is we can see that there are a number of intergroup transactions that took place. I'll highlight them just by making them bold. Right, those are the transactions that took place between the two companies. So when we do a consolidation, the first method and the more traditional method that I worked with at university, etc., was the group journal method. So basically what would happen is these transactions would be consolidated into one environment. So we take all of company A's transactions and we would bring them in, and we would then basically identify them as company A transactions, and then we would take company B's transactions and we would bring them in on the same set of reporting transactions, and we would call them company B transactions. All right. So now underneath each other, we've got all the transactions over here. Right. So now what we would do next is we would go and we'd say we would write journals. And that journal basically would say, well, there were intercompany sales and there were intercompany cost of sales. All right. And we would identify them by literally just doing the opposite of what we see. We would say, well, we can see there was an intercompany and an intercompany sale also over there. And there was an intercompany cost of sale over here and an intercompany cost of sale over here. Okay. So why would we not really in this instance worry about bank and VAT? Well, it's because it goes into one line item in your reporting environment, meaning that bank is already zero if it's on one line. Only the sales and the cost of sales were on separate lines, and that's why we had to eliminate. I see I accidentally missed this other 1,000 Rand. There we go. So that's 6,000 Rand out. So we would lower our sales with 6,000 and we would lower our cost of sales with 6,000. And if we were to throw this into a bit of a report, I'm just going to throw this into a pivot table. Then, and I'm going to throw it onto this reporting tab I've got already built here. This would show us a quick overview as to what we have now done. So firstly, we'd say, well, let's see what type we have. We've got invoice. Let's rather take accounts, what account we have. So we've got accounts, bank, cost of sales, sales, and VAT. So those are the accounts we actually touched on this transaction set. This is what happened. Okay, let's just go and change the number format quickly. Make that a number. Let's make that, and let's take away the zeros. That's better. Okay, so that balances to 0 like we expected. And if we go and look at the source, we'll see, well, there's a source, something that's blank. So blank was obviously not yet identified. So let's just go and identify that as group. Okay, and let's refresh this pivot. All right, now what we'll see is that cost of sales on company A level was 4,000. And 6,000 on company B, and the sales was 6,000 on company A and 15,000 here. However, we eliminated the 6,000 here, and this is what is remaining. All right, so that's the one method to do this, and this will obviously, give us the right result. Another way that gives you a lot more grip of your data and also far more insight that we've identified is called the rip-out method. Okay, so the transaction rip-out method works as follows. So we take the same approach over here. We would then move it into this set of accounts over there, and we take company B, and we would also, well, let's first just identify the source over here again, company A. All right, and then we take this and we move it just below that, just like we did previously, and we call this company B. All right, but instead of now going to and writing any journals, what we do, this was terribly spelled, let me just respell that, company B, that's better. Then we just go and classify each transaction line over here as a intercompany as an intercompany account. I think I accidentally brought something wrong over here. Let me rather redo this. There we go. That should be slightly better. Okay, that we can just see the original transactions. Okay, now company B. All right, now obviously this has gone bold and that has gone bold, which it shouldn't be. Just going to unbold it there. So our transactions that took place intercompany, let's go and identify them quickly. It's that, this transaction, and that transaction. And let's name them intercompany. The other transactions which are open, let's call them external. Okay, and that's it. Now, look how cool this is. Now, if we go and insert another pivot and we place it next to this pivot over here, there. Okay. What we can now see is, well, firstly, if we start with a count on rows, we'll see a similar actual account structure. If we put total here, again it's the same. Let's just take this and change the format for ourselves into a number, 1000 separated and 0 decimals. And let's now go and put something exactly what we put here. We put the source there. All right. So now you see we got a similar first two columns. We got the same first two columns, but we don't have this, which obviously is a problem for us. But what is quite nice is if we go and take this classification now, look how we can bring this out into a different view. So what we can now see is, I'm going to zoom out just ever so slightly there. Suddenly we can see there's the 6,000 Rand that we just saw over here, but it's self-identified itself. So it's actually gone into an intercompany category. But look, the actual data that we have here, we can see suddenly that company A and company B had much more than just the 6,000 Rand between each other. It had interbank transactions, it had intercompany VAT transactions, but we can identify that because it's here, it sits on the same line, so it'd be 0 here, but here we can suddenly see it happening. And it's very difficult to write journals to this extent. But if we can identify each transaction by marking it on a transaction by transaction line, we have a different view of it. So look how nice this is. If we had to add a slicer here on this category, just look how this changes. If I say, well, only show me my external, then I can only see external, and here we've got exactly the same results. Show me my intercompany. Look how nice that is. I can even see intercompany transactions. Okay, so that's the rip out method. We're ripping out the transactions. We're just taking them out completely and saying, don't even show them to me on all levels, VAT level and your net level and even your bank level. Don't show it to me. And if you can go and identify each of your transactions, each of the legs, the debits, the credits, the net, the gross, the VAT leg, if you can identify and actually mark them as intercompany, suddenly you have got a world that opens, and it's so much easier to do consolidations where you don't have to do complicated journals. So the reason why I'm showing you guys this is when you look at Pastel and you go and see, is this possible? Pastel has this feature that's called a category. So when you can go and categorize each of your customers and your suppliers. You can go and categorize them. So you can bring in a category called intercompany. And if you then go and you go into your customers and your supplier side, and this is across your whole group in each of the companies of your group, and you go and say, well, this company is intercompany over there, then what you will find is when you are bringing out and you're looking at it in My BI, the app, you'll actually see that we've already marked it for you. We've gone and we've taken this customer category and we've gone and we've placed it on every single debit, credit and net leg, or net, gross and VAT leg. We've actually placed it there on the bank side and on the actual transaction side. So you can immediately go and identify all those transactions and you can go and rip them out easily and then have this in-depth reporting and a consolidated view without having all that issues of identifying and writing the journals. All right, so I'm not going to save this obviously because that's just an example here. So that's, you know, some way, the two different methods that we've identified. There's the transaction rip out method, and then obviously this method over here, which is the group journal method. Well, I hope you guys have found this insightful, and I hope you guys also enjoy your consolidations as much as I do, and we just hope that you guys have a great day. Thanks guys, bye.